Rolling audio. We're recording.
All right.
Rolling. Oh, that was super loud.
That's good. That's good.
Good.
Today we are here with J.W. Newland. He's a creative director and stylist at Victor Ash. Victor and Ash.
Yes.
Victor and Ash.
It's all good.
I got it. So, and he's here to tell us how he got into what he does and, you know, the challenges that he's faced doing it. So how'd you start getting into this business?
I actually started by thrifting clothes, ironically, for resale.
Mm-hmm.
And then a photographer reached out to me and wanted me to style for a shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And I did, and I kind of snowballed from there.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of kept going. So
Cool.
It's been interesting ride.
What made you want to do it full time?
The creativity of it, the opportunity to be extremely creative. I started off just doing menswear, and it was good. I loved it. But then when I moved into women's wear as well, I was able to be way more creative. And then that started from just fashion styling to now is like being able to put ideas down to which stepped me into being more of a creative director as well. Like shooting at Will's Pub, for instance, and other places, just setting up those whole shoots as myself and not just being the stylist on board to shoot it, to style for the shoot. So that was, I totally forgot the question. But like, yeah.
No, that's cool, man.
That's fine, man. Just because it seems like styling has kind of become more of a thing, even on like a personal level as well. I mean, because I never heard of people having personal stylists before. I mean, probably, I don't know, before like 5 years ago, as far as people having a personal stylist, that was more, if you were doing that, you had cash.
Yeah.
But now it's like websites are like, oh, we'll tailor your style and we'll do this and we'll do that for you. So I've been hearing about it more.
Yeah. I think from a photography standpoint, it's it used to just fall onto the photographer. That like when I first got into this, people were like, "What should I wear? What should I do?" Like, and it's on a different level because I'm focusing on the photo, the technical part of the photo, the lighting, and now you're throwing in another element that you want me to go ahead and stylize you.
Yeah.
I don't know what looks good. I know what photographs well as far as materials, but I don't know what's going to look. I'm not a fashion person.
But even
I'm
with
wearing a T-shirt right now.
And even with the
Like-
materials, as a photographer, sometimes it's happened before where people have showed up to a shoot, and I'm like, oh, I didn't tell them not to wear stripes. Because you just don't think of it as much. It's like, okay, I've got the model, I've got this, I've got that. And if it's not, a lot of shoots, they kind of hinge on the clothing. They have to go with the whole style. But sometimes if it's just a casual thing, it's like, dress casual. And then they show up in zebra print, and it freaks the camera out. And so...
Or they wear green with a green screen in the back and just look like a floating head.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, walk us through, like, if somebody wants you to style a shoot, like, walk us through, like, the process from start to finish.
Well, my main objective from the beginning is the location. Like, what's the location going to be? Is it going to be indoor studio? Is it going to be outdoor on location? Because sometimes outfits don't work for certain locations. Like, for instance, I was at a shoot yesterday, and we had an outfit, but it just didn't work. Well, we used multiple outfits, multiple locations. Well, one of the outfits that we had, the photographer wanted to shoot in another location. After the location we just shot in, it did not look right in the location. So that's very important. Like, it just sometimes things just don't mix.
Yeah.
So for me, the first objective is to know the location. Mm-hmm. Once I know the location, then I need to know the photographer's style as well. Is a big deal, because some photographers shoot differently. Obviously, photographers shoot differently, but like some photographers shoot moody, some photographers shoot very bubbly, and or some shoot very commercial looking, and
Some shoot Victorian
style. Yeah, like like the style has to match that as well. So like once I know the location, once I know the photographer's style, once I know then the next step is this an editorial shoot, or is this a just a test shoot? Because if it's a test shoot, and let's just say it's a test shoot in studio white background, on the cyc walls, I can just kind of put together a bunch of different outfits versus making sure that I like to make sure everything coincides with each other regardless, but sometimes I have a little bit more leeway with, white wall in the back. I could put 4 or 5 outfits together and they don't necessarily have to look exactly alike. But with editorials, for instance, I need to make sure, so once we have the location, once we have the photographer's style, then it's an editorial that I need to know what the theme or I don't really like using the word theme, but the concept of the shoot is say if it's outdoors. So then I know the concept, then I go and then I start hunting down the clothes that I want to use for that shoot.
Yeah.
And majority of the time it's head to toe. It's all the way down to the shoes.
Yeah.
So tops, pants, shoes, jackets, accessories, everything. So
do you most of the time do you buy the clothes specifically for the shoot? Do you keep all the clothes?
Sometimes not. It depends. I have places I pull from, which basically means I can go into the store, I can borrow the clothes, and then return them when I'm done with them. Sometimes I go and I purchase stuff and return it afterwards.
Yeah.
And sometimes if it's for instance if I find stuff at certain thrift stores, they don't have a return. They don't take stuff back.
Yeah.
Some do, some don't.
But it's cheap anyway.
Yeah. So if it's something I can't return, obviously, I keep it and I'll just sell it on eBay or Poshmark or whatever. Poshmark, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Sell it on those and just get my money back.
Yeah. Cool. Do you do hair and makeup?
I do not.
Do stylists do that?
There are some stylists out there that they do it all.
Okay.
That do the full package. For me, I didn't start off doing hair and makeup.
Yeah.
I don't know that, and I really have no interest in it for myself personally. Because it's not what my talent. It's not where my talent lies. So I wouldn't want to step into that because I would just suck at it. In all honesty. So
I think there needs to be a separation of that anyway.
I agree. There does need to be a separation. Yeah. Some people do it, and some people do it very well.
Yeah.
But for me personally, myself, I would never be able. I need to be able to focus on the one thing, which is the clothing, because that's what matters in my mind.
Yeah.
Is the clothing.
Yeah.
So I would never want to step into those other two realms.
Yeah. I could see where it would be beneficial, because the hair, it outlines the clothing. It must be how I want it.
Well, I think there needs to be a say in that. I think everyone needs to have their hand in the creative pot it's like, okay, the photographer, the stylist, and the hairstylist and makeup need to come together.
I see that too.
Join forces and get on the same page. Because if one of those things are out of whack, it tends to distract from that. And I think we're in a cool spot in photography where I feel like at this point it's where you start to separate the weekend warrior photographers from the professional photographers.
Yes.
I think the ones that are like, I don't need a stylist, I'll do it myself. I think those are the ones that are the weekend warriors, and they're, I don't know, it by bringing on that, I get, it's hard for me to say that because I get the wanting control over the vision. But I've sent you stuff where I've been like, hey, here's what I'm thinking. I need you to help me track that down. Or I need you to help me suggest something else.
Yeah.
And so that I could focus on the props that I'm going to need.
Yeah.
Or I could focus on the other elements that go into a complete photo shoot. Yeah. So to me, that benefit is there because it's starting to bring in those elements that movies are using.
Yeah.
I mean, you sit at the end of the movies and look at the credits. Those are specialists on everything they do, and they're out. There's stylists, there's hairstylists, there's makeup stylists, there's wardrobe, there's set stylists, prop stylists. Like, there's all kinds of stylists. But as a photographer, there's like a value added to where it's like, okay, I know this, I trust this person, their vision, and they're going to take my photos to the next level.
And it also gives you the opportunity to not have to worry about it, so you can actually focus on
Yeah.
your creative, or on your craft,
Yeah.
and creating the best that you can do with that. You know, yeah, there are a lot of photographers that do it all. They do the photography. They go out and hunt for the clothes, and they some of them even do makeup and hair, and that's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a whole lot to do. And I definitely will knock them from. I respect their hustle, but how much easier would it be for them to actually be a creative photographer if they didn't have to worry about all that?
Yeah. I mean, it
You
frees up so much more
Yeah.
mind space.
Well, I think
Yeah.
what
That's
you were,
even
I think
a
what
thing.
you were saying about the weekend warrior thing. I think that photographers who don't understand the value of having a stylist haven't done it very much. Haven't been a photographer for very long.
Agreed. Because also they don't know that option's even out there. There's some photographers that don't even know that the option's out there.
Yeah.
They really are. And hey, you know what? We all started somewhere.
Yeah.
So
Well, and sometimes you don't need it. Sometimes it's not needed. If you're just doing a quick test shoot
yeah,
and the budget doesn't align or match
yeah, exactly.
what's required, you don't need it. And I'm not saying you're not a photographer if you don't use
Well,
a
it's just
stylist.
like it's
Yeah,
just
no,
like
of
some
course, of
events.
But
Well, it's just like how some events don't necessitate a photographer.
yeah,
I mean, sometimes we go to events every once in a while, and it's like, why are we even here?
what are we doing here?
They wanted this. They're like paying us to take pictures of this. Okay, all right. But I mean, sometimes it's like, you know, you got to look at the scope of what you're doing, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, and I think the collaboration is in photography. Our industry is very competitive with each other. They're very nasty to each other.
Yeah.
So then to bring in someone else that could potentially go on to another photographer and also bring that style and feel there. I mean, it's a lot, but it's also, that's not the way that this industry should work. It should work as a collaboration, even with other photographers.
Yeah,
Team
I
up
mean,
with
I
other
won't, though.
photographers. They won't, but I mean, it should be. It really should be. So
more of a community aspect.
well, yeah. I mean, when I used to skateboard a lot, I used to skate better when I skated with people who were better than me.
Oh, of course.
Because when I skateboard, I always joke, if the curb's this high, I only ollie high enough to get over that curb, right? But when I see other people skating, it brings me to that next level that were better than me. They're ollieing over trash cans, and I'm like, oh, and it pushes you to that next level. So being surrounded by other photographers that are at a higher level than you,
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And it's also good to be around photographers at a lower level than you, because I find myself, I do things out of habit, but then when I teach it to someone else, it clicks like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm not just making this up, even though I am just making this up, but it makes sense now, and it makes more sense to me now that I'm teaching it and saying it out loud.
Yeah. No.
So-
I totally got you on that.
It's kind of that kind of process. But with the styling, to me, it just opens up a whole new level of possibilities, because then it's like, yeah, I can do this, and I have someone whose sole purpose is to hunt down this costume or this feel or this look, and I don't have to worry about it. I mean, that's pretty rad. That's a pretty cool like service that I think is underutilized.
It is underutilized in Orlando. Well, in Orlando, yes, it's in Orlando, it is underutilized. I wish more.
You could say it. We don't like Orlando. You're not going to offend us.
Oh, hey, what time is it?
Yeah, I gotta go.
I'm gonna say this: Orlando has a lot of growing to do.
Yeah,
There's a lot of growing to do. Orlando has a lot of potential still. It's not a lost cause. I feel
Well,
I
here,
feel
here,
what-
let me plead my case for Orlando,
Okay.
not for Orlando, against Orlando.
Against Orlando.
Here's the
We're gonna
problem.
play devil's advocate. Go ahead.
Here's the problem. Orlando is a city built on a demand, and the demand is theme parks and attractions and tourists.
Yes.
Right? It is almost impossible for any kind of arts and cultures, even though it is growing. It's an uphill battle because there's no music scene here.
Well, which is because
You
attractions pay
can't
for Lady Gaga.
Yeah, you as a local band,
And who
I
are you gonna
can't
go
compete.
see, Lady Gaga or the locals?
Yeah, I can't compete against Lady Gaga at the Amway Center or Elton John at the Amway Center. The tourists that come here are going to go to those places first, right? So from an art scene, it's the same thing. All of the people that come through Orlando, 90% of them are in one spot. They're in Kissimmee. But there's this demand and there's this hunger from the locals that are building that from the
Yes,
ground up.
yes.
But it is an uphill battle, and the good thing is that when Orlando finally gets to that spot, it's gonna be the only real thing in Orlando. Because we're gonna have to
agree.
we're gonna have created this from the ground up. We weren't handed it. We did things. Orlando tried to do what's the Orlando signature dish? They tried to do this. They tried to
What-
like
do we-
say,
do
I think
we
there's-
have one?
I think they're still trying.
Is there?
no,
did
they made a dish and they said, here's what it is, and it's some orange blossom treat, and it's a dessert. But the thing is and the Orlando Weekly said it the best: you can't fake authenticity.
Oh yeah, no,
You can't
for sure.
fake it. So when you have a city built on themes and fake, I mean, everything at Universal Orlando's fake. It's a fantasy,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
You have an entire city built on that export. That's what we export.
Which is fine.
Which is fine, but it's an uphill battle. So
But would you have it any other way though?
Yes. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
what do you mean? In what
I
sense?
like the uphill battles. I like the.
I do too.
I don't want to hand it to me.
I guess the only
well,
thing,
and that's what makes it. That's the
It's
beautiful
more fun,
part.
and
That's
I
the
agree.
beautiful
and,
part.
and
Well,
it
see,
does,
and I agree.
and then it will make it more authentic because the grit and the blood, sweat, and tears is put into the scene that we're
Correct.
all building. I mean, dude, the three of us, Prof came here, dude.
I know.
We had Prof here,
Sold
at
out.
the best local freaking dive bar in Orlando, Will's
Yep.
Pub, bro. Like, how fucking awesome was that? Oh, we
Yep.
can't cuss on this.
You can
podcast.
curse all you want.
Like, how awesome was that, man? Like, that was one of the best shows I've seen in years.
Yeah.
And that was authentic as fuck.
Yeah.
Orlando came the fuck out for that.
But look at the venue that he thought he had to go into, because as Prof, as an outside artist, he probably wasn't sure what his base was going to be like in there. And I've seen artists do this.
Yeah.
They make a jump from Will's Pub to the Beecham to,
Oh, yeah,
and they
yeah.
start working their way up the ladder for that, which is good. I'm okay with it because I got to see Prof from here to 25 feet away,
exactly.
and it was this intimate setting. But I've also seen bands at the House of Blues where I'm like, we're kind of losing the appeal here of what I like. So I get it. I love that there is that opportunity. I also love that I'm not walking into a scene where, I mean, if the music scene here was country, I would just be like, oh God, yep, Orlando's known for their
Well,
country
yeah,
music.
This
So
is my biggest thing with it is that I'm probably somebody who, I mean, I like a challenge more than most. And I think the thing that I don't like about Orlando the most is that people tell me that it's the same as other cities and that like Orlando has a ton of homebrewed culture. What are you talking about? It's awesome. And it's like, that's the part that bugs me when people tell me that it's not based on tourism. I think that's
Yeah.
where I become more jaded. Like, yeah, it is.
well,
You're only
don't
saying that because you don't live here. And I mean, like, I don't want to turn this into like a bash Orlando thing.
yeah, no,
but
of course.
but I mean, that's probably my biggest problem. I used to hate Orlando a whole lot more.
Oh,
I've toned it down a lot. I'm not from Orlando.
I'm not from Orlando.
I mean,
either.
who is?
yeah.
That's the thing. That's the problem. I
Like-
mean, it's not the problem. That's also part of that beautiful experiment that is Orlando. But there's one thing that we lack here is that, and they'll people argue, they'll comment on this saying, "You're out of your mind. Look at the Dr. Phillips Performing Arts Center." And it's like, yeah, look at it.
Yeah.
Multi-million-dollar facility, not for us.
Yeah.
That is for tourists.
Well, I'll say this, as far as Orlando goes. Orlando, my biggest issue with Orlando is it's a very transient city. And because of that, it doesn't, not a lot of people stay. They come.
There's no roots.
Yeah, there's no roots. They come, they go to Full Sail, they go to UCF, they go to Rollins. I don't think anybody comes here to go to Valencia. Sorry, Valencia. But they come here to go to school, and then they're out.
Yeah.
But there are people here that are staying that are really fighting to create a culture.
Yes.
Will, from Will's Pub, for one. He's a big, like, a lot of the stuff they do with Will's is creating such a culture over there.
Yeah.
Like Mayhem on Mills, having somebody like Prof one night, and then the Hackensaw Boys, which is like a punk like bluegrass band, like the next night.
Yeah.
It wasn't the next night, but you get my drift.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you have stuff like you have Colt Neesmith. I don't know if you guys know who Colt Neesmith is. He runs Creative City Project.
Yeah.
And I've known Cole since Cole started doing Creative City Project years ago.
Yeah.
And it was a small, like, hey, let's have some ballet dancers dancing on Orange Ave. Let's have an orchestra over here playing. It was a weekend event this last year, and it was freaking beautiful.
Yeah.
So we do have people that are staying and fighting for Orlando.
Well, and they're
I think
building.
I think that's a beautiful thing.
And they are, and I'm not trying to put down what
I
the
know
community's trying to do. I just, again, like Caleb said, it's the people that are like almost delusional about it, to where it's like, no, listen, first we have to acknowledge the problems, and then we could start fixing those things. And I've seen personally more of a growth in the past couple years than I have in the 10 years that I've lived here or plus.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But it's definitely been, people have finally been like, you know what? I'm tired of complaining about Orlando, which is one of me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to actually try to do something different.
Well, I mean, that was making me miserable, man.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was like, I mean, every day. I mean, it's still there a little bit, but I'd wake up and just be like, why?
Yeah.
Why am I even getting out of bed? I mean, it's mostly the weather, but there's things about it. But then I was just kind of like, I kind of ran out of gas complaining about it. Like, I wore myself out being mad at this place.
Yeah.
And I haven't it hasn't beaten me. Like, so I just accepted it.
just joined
It's not that. It's that I kind of decided to tune out the things that I don't like about it and decided to just start focusing on what makes money. And that might be one of the reasons that you think Orlando's changed, just because we've kind of like
our
shifted
attitude has
gears
changed.
and
Yeah.
ignored it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I used to go to way more networking events. I used to go into Orlando a whole lot more. I used to, I don't know, just...
I think part of it, though, is, again, it's also when we did those networking events more, it was this constant people trying to say what it wasn't, and it's infuriating.
And make a buck.
Well, it's like, it's amazing, isn't it? And it's like, no, it's really not. We can do better.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
and that's
of
and
course,
that's what
of
it
course.
was. It was this constant fantasy. It's like, listen, if I want to be sold BS, I'll drive down to Kissimmee and go to Disney World.
Yeah.
Like, I'll
Which
drive.
is what it's for, and
Which
there's
is
nothing
what
even
it's
wrong
for.
with that.
There's nothing wrong with it, but don't sit here and try to tell me this place is what it's not when we could be working on making it better. And we've got things. I mean, Snap is amazing.
Snap is amazing.
And they're bringing this culture, and they'll even talk to you about the challenges that they had coming from a well-established scene like Miami up to Orlando and producing something here. It's not easy. It's an uphill battle, but once you get it, it's going to be so much more it's yours. You earned it. It
Yeah.
wasn't handed to you. You can go down to Miami and start making a name, and the art scene's there. It's established,
Yeah.
right? But here, it's going to be a challenge. You're going to have to build the foundation brick by brick and get it to where you want it, and you'll own that more.
Exactly. It's
It's
exactly what it comes to. Like I was born and raised in Miami,
yeah,
and I've been in Orlando since 2005. And a lot of people ask me, "Why don't you go back to Miami?" And I'm just like, I like what I'm building here.
yeah,
I really like what I'm building here. And when the time is right, I will go back down to Miami. Not to ever live,
yeah,
but I will go back down there and work, and it will be a beautiful thing because it's kind of like I left Miami to kind of find myself.
yep,
Because I felt like, sorry guys if you're watching this, I felt like I was in my group of people's shadows because they were all doing something, and I was always like the little brother that was with them. I was never addressed as JW or John. It was like, hey, that's blah blah blah's boy. Oh, that's his boy. You know, so I was always the guy with everybody else doing something.
yeah,
So when I moved here, it took me some time to to figure it out. But once I figured out what I'm good at and what I wanted to do, then shit, like now I'm doing it.
yeah.
I mean, every goal I set for myself last year, I reached
That's awesome.
with this fashion and creative directing.
So do you find with going to the goal thing, do you find there's all the, I mean, there's not a lack of inspirational stuff out there, right? There's like you even said it yourself. You said hustle, like those buzzwords that people are like, you got to hustle, you got to do this, you got to do that. And it's easy to say that. But
Oh yeah.
do you find that setting these goals, especially in an industry that may be a little bit challenging with flaky people, do you find that a key, essential part of building that kind of business? Like, I know the answer to it. I just want to see what your approach is to, like, the goals. You get what I mean?
What do you mean? No,
Like-
I'm a
like-
little lost in what you're saying.
All right, so, like, I set goals, and I'm like, okay, I set my goals in the beginning of the year, and I wrote those down. And I just said, here they are, right? Now, I'm not accountable to anybody but myself.
Yeah, of
But
course.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is, with styling, because it's so relied on other people, like with photography, I could just be like, I'm going to go grab my camera, I'm going to create some images,
Yeah.
do whatever. But with the styling aspect, I can't imagine the challenge of relying on these people that could just bail out at any moment. You get what I'm saying? Like,
No, I get exactly what you say, and luckily, that goes with what's the word I'm looking for here? Having good ethics
yeah,
as a business person, and caring about other people other than myself.
yeah,
So, building good relationships with other people, not just for myself, but to be able to showcase some of these local designers.
yeah,
You know, to give them a platform, or a local shop to give them a platform. You know, so being able to build good relationships, I think, is what's kept me able to do that.
yeah,
If I didn't build these, because I could easily walk in the store and be like, "Hey, I'm a stylist. Like, you should let me borrow stuff." It's a dickhead move.
yeah,
Like, I would never do that. Like, I would build an actual relationship with these people, so that way I could borrow their stuff, or that way I could go to a store and get, a bunch of stuff for half off than what I would normally have
Yeah.
to purchase it for, or, whatever, So to me, not being a selfish dick and giving a fuck about other people, I think is what's helped me to really be able to do what I do best.
Well, and I guess the part of it too is like, so I set up these goals in the beginning of the year, and my goals, because I'm expanding beyond just being a photographer and this run and gun guy, they involve other people.
Yeah.
And I've had every model except for one that I've asked to come photograph with us cancel. Just last second, no, can't do this, changing dates constantly. And this isn't a free shoot. This is no haggling, nothing. Just, hey, what's your rate? Okay, that's great. When can you shoot? Okay, this is your date. What time is good for you? I mean, not dictating.
It's basically
any
built around them.
It's built around every element. Not once was I like, that's a little steep. let
Yeah.
me negotiate this. I don't do that with people. Just so you know, like
Unless
we
it's
don't do that.
outrageous.
Well, if it's outrageous, I don't even haggle it.
Oh, yeah,
I
that's
just
true.
go, okay,
Yeah.
we're going to go somewhere else that's cheaper. I never haggle price. If someone comes up to me and says, my rate is X amount of dollars an hour, I go, okay, good to know. And that's it. If it's good for me, I'll hire you. If not, I won't.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to sit there and tell you that your price isn't worth what you just told me. So if you
No,
come
of
to me with a
course.
price, it needs to be what you charge,
Yeah.
right? So I just find these goals that I establish with these other people, which is part of me. My growth goal is to work better with other people or more with other people.
Yeah.
It just runs into this challenge of constantly. The worst part of my job is dealing with other people and relying on them. You
And
get what I
that's-
mean?
and-
Like,
and that's where having a creative director actually helps,
yeah,
because then that takes the pressure off you. You know what I learned last year what a creative director's job really is? Babysitting. That's what my
I can
job
see that.
is as a creative director is babysitting. And
That's
when
why
I
I'm
figured
angry all
that
the
out,
time. That's why I'm angry all the time, man. Because that's that's mostly what I do here is creative directing. And it's just
Yeah.
like every day it's infuriating.
it's infuriating.
Why can't they just do it on their own?
Richard,
It's a lot of hand holding, like as far
not
as
Richard.
management.
Not Richard.
No, he's
no, but yeah, I
shows
learned that in a project that I was doing last year. I was like, man, like
It's herding cats.
hurting cats.
Herding.
Oh, I thought you said hurting cats.
Is it?
Yes.
Why would you hurt
Herding
cats?
cats. Why would you do that? What are we talking about?
Sorry, Peter.
Yeah.
No, you're right. It is.
It's hurting them. It's like, hey, come on.
Yeah,
Let's
it's-
move along.
Yeah, I agree, and that's what I learned last year, and I learned it at an infuriating time. But then after it was all said and done, I was like, "That's my job, and I'm okay with it." Because at the end of the day, if I wasn't there to do the creative directing, this whole project would have totally just fell to shit,
Yeah.
and there would have been no outcome.
But I think part of growing Orlando as a professional hub of creatives is also holding those other creatives responsible
Oh yes,
for doing
agreed,
that thing.
Agreed,
And
100%. Yeah.
we've talked about this multiple times where creatives hide. They're all professional until you start criticizing them or critiquing them, and then they hide behind the artist shield. And the artist shield, they whip up and go, "It's art. Who are you to say?" You get what I mean?
Yeah.
But there has to be a level of accountability. The moment that you charge a client money, you are now a professional, and there needs to be a level of standard of quality, of service, of ethics.
Mm-hmm.
And as a community, it's our responsibility to call people out when they don't do it.
I agree.
And it's also our responsibility to defend people when clients think that they're breaking those rules
Yeah,
and
I
they're
agree.
really
I
not.
agree to
It's
both of
it's
those,
not a
yeah.
one-way street, but I see it like, okay, I have models canceling on me, borderline unprofessionally. It's not
well, no,
quite
it is
there.
like canceling like 2 hours before shoot
It's pretty
because the drive's longer than they thought.
yeah.
That's
Then they should
it's
just
not
ask,
professional.
Then they should
Like,
just ask for compensation, a little bit more compensation.
And I
for
have-
that.
well, it's not even because of money. They just don't want to do it. It's
Yeah.
like,
Well,
oh,
then
that's
then
farther than I thought.
then those are weekend warrior. Those are what you
Exactly.
like to call weekend
Yeah.
warrior
yeah,
models.
yeah, exactly.
Well, and that's my challenge from a creative standpoint. I have all these ideas in my head that I want to get out, and I need to get them out to make room for the next ideas
Yeah.
that are coming down the pike.
Yeah.
And I feel like whenever I start checking these things off, I start to come up with these bigger and better ideas. It also changes my clientele list. But I'm always afraid to put my faith in this community because I can't afford to go through all this work
No,
and
no.
then be let down by either someone not showing up. I mean, I did this shoot once, and I really like the model that did it for me, so I'm not going to call her out, and I'm going to be as vague as possible.
That's fine.
But I had this grand idea, and I did all this work, months of prep. We did, behind the scenes BTS. We did BTS video, which sounds gross. BTS videos of the making of it. I had a makeup artist build all this stuff. The model gets there. We spend a good 2 hours putting this stuff on her. And then she goes, how much longer are we going to be? Because I have to be across town at this time. And that's
In an hour.
In an hour. And it deflated me.
Yeah, no, I could
Instantly
feel
took
that.
the wind out of my sails. I found myself rushing. I did things in that photo that would have been better if I just took 2 seconds and looked at it and was like, oh, that's ruining the shot. We need to get rid of this.
Mm-hmm.
Things that these ideas aren't just your typical show up, shoot. It's in my mind it works. On paper it may not, or in camera it may not. So it's constantly tweaking and adapting.
Yeah.
And it requires that time.
Yeah, it does.
So and I've grown to the point where, yeah, I used to do a lot of TFP and, hey, come out and shoot with me and do whatever. But I've changed that because I want to respect people's time and money. And I feel like if I pay them, they need to be there.
Oh, I agree. If you're getting paid, like, this isn't a TFP shoot. This
Yeah.
isn't some just, hey, let's collaborate and do an editorial. This is, I'm giving you money for a certain amount of
For
time.
service. Yeah.
For service. Don't cut it down because you double booked.
It's just it's just that's the biggest issue that I think that the only way to fix that in Orlando and in this market is to look at it critically and say, we need to take a step up, and we need to take a step back and say our community isn't growing and isn't building the way that we want it because of us.
I wonder if a way to get around that, which we haven't really tried yet, is when we book a model to say, and they're like, yeah, I'll do it. Go, okay, send me an invoice right now. We're going to pay you. Like ahead of time.
Yeah.
Ahead of time. Because then we've already paid them.
But
Like before the shoot. I mean, that's scary.
It is scary, but I would also, if you're going to do that, I would have contract ready on hand.
Yeah.
To email to her before she invoice.
Well, yeah.
Like before, like she sends you the invoice, you send her the contract, she signs that contract, she or he, and then you send the money.
Yeah.
Contract, because if you do that, if you're sending out the money and no contract, who's to say that they won't just back
Because
out?
when we hire a model who sends us an invoice before the shoot, they always show up. They've never canceled. We've never paid somebody ahead of time, but it's always been them. Like, it's not that we don't have the money. It's just like, why are we asking people to tell us to pay them money? Like that kind of a thing. But maybe if we are like, listen, send us an online invoice right now. We'll pay it. So you're booked and you have to show up. I mean,
yeah, but that also needs to be stated in the contract.
Well, yeah.
Obviously.
Contract with an invoice, whatever.
And for your situation with that model that you're just talking about, like when you do a contract, when you do those contracts, you need to have it set like from this time to this time.
Yeah.
So that way, like, okay, if you decide to leave early, well, guess what? But see, then that falls in the problem with that. You've already paid them.
Mm-hmm.
You can't tell. You can't.
I
be
mean,
like,
I've dealt with.
You can't be like, hey, you're not staying the whole time.
We've
Pay
dealt
me
with
back.
some horror story models, man.
Well, just like a deposit.
I think out of- I
maybe
think-
not the whole day, just like a half.
Yeah, I would do a half
down,
and then
Yeah.
you get
Just
the half at the end.
a dollar. Because with us, if somebody, especially when we were in the mall, if somebody paid us $20, it's like they owned us. It was an attitude switch.
Yeah.
Even like just the tiniest amount of money. I mean, if somebody gives you a penny, it's like I've paid you.
I own you.
And you owe me now. Like, so maybe
it's
more. It'll solidify it more.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the we've dealt with some nightmare models. I think out of anything, models are definitely at the top of the list of like, way to fill that stereotype, and I see it changing. I see a new level of models coming through in Orlando. I see some really hungry models that are like, I want to work.
Yeah, I haven't seen it change, but I think that's the one thing that with the photography industry that sucks. I think that, it's just the most
we also
unreliable part of the.
But we require a lot more from our models than most photographers.
Yeah, well, I don't even know if
I really
that's true.
think we do.
But even beyond that, just showing up or answering
Yeah.
emails or a Facebook message. And I mean, it's not like we're just like, hey, I think you look real good. I want to take your photo. It's like, hey, I'll send them a message on Facebook and be like, hey,
We don't use terms like artsy. You want to do art. You want to get more artsy.
it's like, here's our
which is code for take off your clothes.
Yeah. We like whenever
Dude,
I
was
write a
thinking something
model.
more artistic.
Whenever I write a model, I write, hey, this is who I am. I'm the creative director at Spectacle Photo. Here's our website. We're like a legit, business. Yeah.
Here's our Sunbiz number.
Here's our EIN.
Here's
and
our
it's-
liability
it's like,
insurance.
here's the concept. If you're interested, send me your rates. And like even that is just like no response.
How about with
or
modeling
response, like
agencies?
2 weeks later. Modeling agencies are the absolute worst, hardest to get a hold of. I mean, it's just
Even like, hey, we want to pay.
It's
We
one
want
of
to pay. We want to be a part of this. I mean, have you had any success with like modeling agencies?
Yes.
Like teaming up with them?
Yes, I work with a few modeling agencies here that I've had very.
Call them out. Let's hear.
Well,
let's hear.
they can-
That are good.
Yeah, let's hear the ones you like. Give them a shout out.
Modern Muse, hands down, is
Modern Muse?
is they're the ones I work most closely with.
Okay.
And the way that they treat their models and take care of their models is standing ovation for them. Like,
Very cool.
Alexis Perry really does her stuff well. Victoria, who works with her, it's a great agency.
I'd like to get an agency on here and like talk to them about.
You should.
Yeah.
Like why do you ignore emails from photographers trying to give you free work?
Well, how are we gonna get?
And
them
I'm
on
not
here?
talking about. I'm not
How are
talking
we
about.
gonna get them on here? If they ignore our emails.
They ignore our emails. Hey, come on here. Like, let's talk. Like,
Well,
maybe
'cause
there's something
there's
that.
some photographers that honestly just aren't up to par. And
Correct.
I'm not saying that
Oh,
you
no,
guys
no,
aren't,
no,
but
no.
there are.
We may not be.
There are.
I don't know what their standards are.
Well, no,
And it's not their responsibility to be like, hey,
Well, no, there's
you
some
guys
pretty-
need to improve.
Well, no, there's some. Well, you got to understand this is work that is reflecting their agency as well.
Yeah.
So they have to be. I'm not going to say picky, but they have to be particular about who they shoot with.
We've
'Cause-
never been turned down like that. We've never had an agency be like, no.
We've had them ignore our
Or-
emails.
Well, yeah, but that's not that. I'm saying that's not like a.
Yeah.
We've never been like, oh, we don't have any models for that kind of shoot or anything like that. I
No.
don't think we've been picked over.
Well, and
then, like,
another issue
our
too is that
quality's not
because
good.
Orlando is such a small industry when it comes to
it's
that,
very small
and it's a
industry.
right to work state.
Yes.
When I used to work for an agency, we would run into the problem where multiple agencies were sending us the same
Yeah,
talent.
that is a big
and
thing in Orlando.
it was like,
because of the
okay, I
right to work
came to you
in
for
areas.
diversity, not the same stuff that I can get from here.
Yeah.
And I found that what I liked the most about agencies came down to how they were presenting the talent.
Mm-hmm.
And it really came down to like, okay, you're all sending me the same talent. It's the same pool. We've only got 5 dads in Orlando, right? We've only got 3 moms. And then we
Yeah.
mix and match them onto different sets. But it came down to like, okay, like Professionally Pretty would send me a back end or a portfolio where I can go in and check off things. I thought that was really cool. It made my job a lot easier
Yeah.
as a creative director. But it came down to that kind of stuff. And then, but from a portfolio building / building a relationship with them, I feel like there's like this gatekeeper that's like, or almost this, what's perceived as this pretentious, no, we don't work with you. And it's not, but that's
No,
my
it's-
perception.
So it's not. But there are some. I know that there are some photographers out there that are just that reach out to agencies that just aren't on the level yet. And I'm not saying they never will be.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they absolutely suck. I'm saying that they're just not ready to be on that level to work with an agency yet.
Yeah.
And the agency has to protect its brand, just like you guys have to protect your brand. I have to protect my brand.
Yep.
It's just the cost of doing business.
Yeah.
You know. But no, there are.
Maybe put that on their website.
It's the cost of doing business if you suck.
No,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
maybe
Get better.
maybe just put that on your website.
Yeah.
Hey, inquiries for photographers who want it would eliminate 90% of the emails they probably get throughout the day. Just put it on there. Like, listen, if you're interested in working with one of our models through our agency, submit your portfolio. But if you don't hear from us, it's probably because you suck.
I would do it.
Right. No, I mean, maybe not that, but like word
that
it to where
harsh,
it's like, hey,
Yeah.
we can't respond to everyone. If it is a match for our agency, we will be in
We'll
touch.
get back to you. Yeah.
Well,
But
and
if not, here's some key things maybe you could look at.
yeah.
I think that
And
maybe
I don't know. Then again, it's not the responsibility of the agency to
No, it
even
really
care.
isn't to teach the people how to get better. Yeah.
I think something that would be cool is maybe, and once again, I don't know if agencies have tried this. Maybe it's a stupid idea, but I think that it would be cool if you want to work with an agency, you send them your portfolio, and I don't know how, but however they want to, they'd approve or disapprove of your portfolio. And then you could be on like their list of people who they'll send models to. But then there's also like maintenance. Like you have to send them photos like every 2 months.
Well, I think that
It's like a
that already
refresh.
is in that. That's already is what it how
Yeah.
it's done, except for the refresh that you're talking about.
Because the refresh would be, that would eliminate people who are just like, oh, I want to be a photographer. And they just, take a bunch of photos and give them
Don't get
stuff.
any better, yeah.
They don't continue. But I've never been asked to give an agency my portfolio. They'll ask like, what's your web address?
Well, and maybe
But-
the and again, this is probably questions that we should be asking an agency. But
Yeah.
like working, I just feel like, especially in Orlando where there's not this massive amount of work, there's not, right? You think part of an agency's responsibility to their models is to help them grow professionally.
Mhm.
Even professionally, you're going to work with bad photographers, right?
Yeah.
Now, you don't want to waste your talent's time by saying, hey, go show up and do this, do this, do this. But getting in front of the camera is the best way to get better at being in front of the camera
Oh, of course.
all the time. So I just think even if an agency did, imagine they could even charge for it. Like, hey, let's do a photographer's night. We're going to bring 3 of our top talent. We're going to bring in John, and he's going to stylize it. And then we're going to charge each photographer a discounted rate, but for the night, here's what you get. You're guaranteed to work with a couple of these these models. That would be amazing.
Why don't you bring it up to them?
I just did.
I
You
don't
hear
know
that?
any.
You hear that, Modern Muse? Well, maybe it's a pain in the ass. I don't know. Maybe it's not even worth their time. Who knows?
Who knows?
I just
And
feel
also,
like
they have to
like
be
building
fatigued.
fans.
And they have to be fatigued from a bunch of idiots contacting them all the time.
Oh, they
Yeah.
do get a lot of emails.
They
all
gotta
the
get a
time,
bunch
yeah.
of
But think about
retards
that.
in
If
there.
you're as an agency, you would literally be creating a bunch of fans, a bunch of evangelists that would then know I like working with Modern Muse. And when I go out and someone asks me what talent agency I should use, I will say Modern Muse. But maybe even bring in creative directors for that night. You know, hey, you're invited to this. It's free for creative directors because they're like the ladies. They get in for free. They get free drinks, right? They come in for free to then creative direct, and they see the caliber of talent that they're offering and then this community building thing. I don't know. I think it would help with stylizing too, because then you get more access. And I've seen you do networking events. Like I've seen you,
I go.
yeah, which is good.
go.
It's great. I mean, well, I don't know if it is
network.
good. I don't know if it is good. Is it good?
It's funny. The other day, there was something I was supposed to go to for networking, and my girlfriend was like, "You don't network at these things.
You just show up and
You
bark
just-
orders
you
and
just show
make
up and
people
just
do shit."
Walk around." She's like, "I've never seen you really network with people."
Yeah.
I was like, "Shut up."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I've seen you do these kind of shootouts, right?
I go to them. I never work the shootouts. I'll be honest with you. I go to the shootouts to scout
Okay.
for models that I would like to work with.
That's
and,
cool.
And it actually has been very beneficial. There's actually a model that I saw at the Hub event
Yeah.
last year, and I wasn't able to work with her. because she's underage and I don't work with underage people.
That's probably smart.
Yeah, and then so this year she was at this event, and she now turned 18, and I'm actually working with her Saturday.
Nice.
So that's what I go there for, is to scout. But
Did you ever see someone that you just didn't want to work with?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're
How
just
do
like,
you how do you line it up so you work with them later?
What do you mean?
Like, so, because from from my position, I see the photographer gets the shoot ready, and then he contacts you
Yes.
to style, and then
Yes.
they contact an agency or a model, and they bring you two together.
Yes.
So, like, how do you scouting for models? How does that
How does that benefit me?
How do you make it so you can work with them?
Well, I do it because when I'm doing that, when I'm scouting for my creative directing ideas that I have in my head for
Gotcha.
stuff that I want to do.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's when I'm scouting. That's what I'm scouting for.
Okay, so
It's
that's
the
more on
stuff that I
shoots that
wanna
like
do.
you're putting together.
Yeah, that I'm putting together.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
All right.
that I'm going to put together. So
Yeah, because I was thinking like maybe you suggest models or something when people hire you or something like that.
I do have, I guess you would say, a preferred vendors list of models that I do like to work with, or that I do think would fit for certain situations. You know, so yeah, I actually do have a list for that. It's not like a list that I've actually written down, but in my mind I know. Like if someone comes to me like, oh, we have this idea for this, and then we need this type of model, I know exactly mentally who to go to.
Gotcha.
Like I'm like, all right, boom, this person is perfect for it.
So, I know that you do a lot of shoots with photographers and stuff. What about kind of how we mentioned it before, like personal styling? Do you do that very much, or?
I did personal styling, and I actually did wedding styling for grooms.
Okay.
Never again.
Is that? I was gonna ask him why
Are
that
they
was
just
funny.
as bad as the brides?
Again, never the fuck again. No, the brides are the problem.
Oh,
Yeah.
you don't say.
No, I don't. No, because it's like they want to be in full control of it. I get it. It's your day, you know, and you
That
want your
doesn't
man to
end
look
that
good.
day.
But
That doesn't.
well,
that
this is my problem. This is
being
my
in full control doesn't end at the
No,
wedding
it
day.
doesn't.
That's the start of it,
That's
buddy.
the beginning of it. No, but for me, like, I like to start, 8 months, 6 months, 6 to 8 months early,
Yeah.
because I want to make sure I wanted to make sure all the guys, the groom, the groomsmen, the father of the bride, the father of the
The ring bearer.
ring bearer,
Yeah.
the father of everybody,
The dudes.
all the dudes looked good.
Yeah. That
But
sounds
then I
awesome.
realized what I was charging wasn't worth dealing 6 to 8 months
Yeah.
with people that, quite frankly, that's so fucking wrong. I did not give a fuck about.
Yeah.
I had to deal with people for 6 to 8 months that I don't give a fuck about your love. I don't give a fuck about your day.
Yeah.
And I had to deal 6 to 8 months with it. So I did that for a year, and I was like, I can't do this anymore, and I stopped.
You
I
dipped out quick.
Yeah, I
We
couldn't.
suffered with it longer.
Oh god.
And then we did the same thing. We were like, oh, you can't do this anymore.
no, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I hated it.
It's not worth the money.
No, it really isn't worth the money.
Well, and it's the same thing with photography.
It's
and
not worth the
weddings.
money. Okay, it's not worth the money if you don't like it.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If you really aren't into it, like I really don't care about their love story. I really don't care about how they met and their happy day. Like I don't give a fuck. I really don't.
My thing, where I really started getting sick of it, was when we were doing weddings, and they were all talking about their weddings like it was different. And I was sitting there like it's not any different. So our thing was that my personal experience with it is that every bride and groom were like, okay, we are doing something that nobody's done before. And it just started eating at me. And in my mind, I was like, no, people have done this before. They do it at every wedding ever. I just did this 3 times last month. And the more and more that happened, the more I started to realize I was just shooting the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
and everybody thought it was different, and they
You
think
can
they're
literally just
different and
put
unique.
CG their faces. They could
Exactly.
save $20,000
Yeah.
just by like
Yeah.
CGing their faces on the same event over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's being a wedding photographer takes a special person to do that.
It
A very
does.
special person
Patience.
because I found it very difficult to sell these people the same thing over and over and over again. It felt very canned to me. Like Caleb said, everyone thought their wedding was the most unique ever, and it was just the same thing. And it ruined weddings for me. It ruined the concept of weddings.
Yep.
It
Yeah, I
ruined the
agree.
idea of weddings
agree
for me
100%, yeah.
because the vendors were selling love, and they were the most hypocritical. Like, you are merchants of love, and you are the most dysfunctional community ever. And then it was also it was weddings. As growing up, I always thought they were real and genuine and authentic, and they're everything but that.
Yeah, they aren't.
And to an extent, what was good about me as a photographer is that I only attracted unique brides and grooms that actually focused on those things, because I did get brides, and a majority of my brides and grooms focused on the actual family aspect of having a wedding. The smaller intimate ones that weren't about the linens. They didn't get hung up on that stuff. I was late to a wedding once with the bride, and it still went off without a hitch, and everything was fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the bride and I were stuck in traffic because there was a car accident. And it was like, we're still going to get married. We're fine, because none of that other stuff mattered.
Yeah.
But it's hard to find those clients. And from a commercial
I
standpoint,
didn't have as many.
from a commercial standpoint, it didn't make it a viable aspect of my career for me. And I'm sure it's the same with the styling, is that
Yeah, it definitely wasn't.
it's
viable.
not commercially viable.
No.
So why am I sitting here saying that I'm a wedding photographer when really I just like photographing my friends' weddings who are awesome people?
Exactly.
So
I mean, it definitely, because I got married, because I quit weddings. I was like, I can't do this anymore. And then I got married later. And first, I just got married at a courthouse. And then it was like, okay, we need to have like a wedding for like friends and family. And then I was sitting there like a tyrant. We're not having flowers. That's a scam. We're not we're not doing this. We're not doing that. 70 people on your list. 70? Okay, you got 10. Like, what are we doing here? Showing off the wealth?
yeah,
Who do you actually care about? Who do you actually talk to? I mean, I invited my sister and my brother and my parents. That was my list. Like 5 friends. And that was it. And she did the same thing. And we spent all the money on catering, which we had 4 Rivers cater a bunch of food. And then we had, we spent a bunch of money on booze, because those are the only 2 things that anybody ever remembers about a wedding.
Yeah.
Is if it
that's
had
true.
good food and if it had a
lots of
free
booze.
bar. That's it. They don't care.
Yeah, no, you're totally right.
Nobody said, you know what? Man, your wedding was awesome. I mean, you didn't have flowers on the middle of the tables, but...
And the linens were ivory, not
Yeah.
but
they weren't beige, they were ivory.
Yeah.
So,
But I feel like weddings would be way cooler if the groom was stylized.
Yeah.
Like, I
and
would
that's
still.
what that's what I was trying to do, but it just became more
Yeah.
of a fucking hassle than anything.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
It became a
I-
fucking hassle.
It's funny because I don't think there was ever a stylist at any of the weddings that I filmed, but I could see how that would just be obnoxious for you, for a stylist.
Yeah.
Because quite frankly, the guys really don't give a fuck.
Yeah, that
well,
too. You don't really have any backup.
I'm sure now guys are really starting to cave. Some guys are starting to give a shit about themselves, which is good. But a lot of the time, it was run by the bride and what the bride wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And the bride's mind changed every week.
Yep.
And that was a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And I couldn't deal with it.
Yep.
Well, we live in the Pinterest age where
Oh my God.
whatever's being pinned is what matters. Do you find speaking of Pinterest, do you get that a lot where people are like, I saw this on Pinterest?
For like the wedding stuff, or just in general?
Just in general.
Oh yeah, I do get that. I use Pinterest for like making mood boards and stuff.
Yeah.
For myself, I mean, we all.
I always
kinda
try
do.
to use Pinterest for mood boards, and then I start instantly. It's like my Pandora playlist. I start with one artist, and then it winds up just being the Beastie Boys, right? But like, I always start with that, and then I start looking at DIY projects. And I could probably have an entire board about palettes. But like, I find like Pinterest to me is an amazing tool, but I always wind up on home improvement projects. It's like the squirrel place. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna look up stylized squirrel. Like, and I start heading down that path.
Yeah.
But
What did you do before you did this?
I was a canine trainer.
a what?
I was a bartender. Okay, I was a bartender, a server for many years, and then I was a canine trainer. I trained dogs to attack.
Canine trainer.
Canine trainer. Very
I
cool.
did home protection, so I trained dogs to protect. So
For like the police?
more personal.
Junkyard
More
people?
personal. Who?
I don't know.
Junkyard people. Yes, it was a junk. I worked for the junkyard.
I don't know
I
anything.
worked for the Junkyard Association.
Wow, you've tapped into something I know absolutely
Oh,
nothing
it was
about.
more for like we did deal with the police, not as much. We dealt with more like personal people.
Junkyard people?
We dealt with the junkyard people.
Like security companies and stuff?
Some
or-
security companies, but more personal protection.
Mm.
So, like for your home,
Mm.
like if you wanted a dog instead of a gun,
Mm-hmm.
we did that.
Ah.
Or if you wanted a dog and a gun,
Huh.
we provided the dog.
What about a dog with a gun? No.
Dog
Sounds like you missed an opportunity there.
fucked up.
Why didn't I think of that? That's why I came
Gun
here.
on his back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Cool.
What's your
Sorry.
favorite? What's your favorite style?
Favorite style.
Yeah. What do you like doing the most? Like, what gets you excited?
I like doing streetwear, man.
Streetwear?
Yeah, in all honesty, like I like everything I do, but like I kind of lean more towards, like when I'm feeling creative, like I lean more towards streetwear.
Male or female?
Female.
Female?
Yeah, because there's so much you can do.
Yeah.
You know, you can overdo it and it looks okay.
What's streetwear? Like, how do you define that?
Like hype beast stuff.
Okay.
You know what that is, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, like that. Like I love that look.
Hmm.
And there's a lot you can do because you can mix so many different genres. Like you can do like a pair like what's the best way to you could do like parachute pants with like a high fashion top.
Yeah.
And streetwear is more high fashion now than it ever was before.
I don't know, man. Ninja Turtles, one. When I think of streetwear, I think of like the arcade, that indoor skate park where
Yeah.
all like the thief kids hang out, and they're
Yep.
all wearing like the '90s street clothes, hammer pants,
I'm
and
offended.
like
I'm
neon
offended.
tops.
Offended. Offended right now?
Whatever, that movie's awesome.
It wasn't like two with Vanilla Ice.
yeah,
Go
yeah.
Ninja Go.
Go Ninja
More
Go.
more parachute pants.
Hey, that one's good too.
That's cool though. I can kind of see that. I would have guessed if I were to have guessed from what I've seen more. I guess because I just focus on that as like men's fashion. I always think that's so out of place that when it happens, it's like wow.
I love doing men's fashion, but I get a
Yeah.
little bored with it sometimes. Just a little bored.
Yeah, because
Because
it's
it's- 'cause
tucks
it's-
and pocket watches
It
and
suits.
Yeah.
yeah.
And so with women's stuff, I can go crazy.
What about like beyond just normal stuff? So what if somebody came to you and said, I want to do a sci-fi shoot and you have to like, I need clothes that don't exist. Like I need like, I don't know how to describe it, but
Everything exists.
yeah, but I
And
mean,
if it doesn't exist, it can be made.
well, that's what I was going to ask you. So if you need something to be made like that, that's, fantasy or sci-fi, what do you do then?
Like you mean like cosplay stuff, or just like
Sure.
a fashion editorial or a fashion that's inspired?
Both.
Both.
Let's say either.
I've never done cosplay stuff, so I don't really know that how that would work. I know there's a lot of people that do make their own cosplay stuff, and it's beautiful. And if I needed to, I would obviously go to them.
Okay.
And the same with fashion stuff. If it's something that I can't find, I know designers, I know costume people that I could get it made. If I really needed to, I would get it made.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what I run into. I have like a ton of ideas, but it's like, where are we going to find Space Marine armor? Like, because styling, I think, can go beyond. I think it would quickly segue into like costume designer.
Even props.
Yeah.
It can. Yeah, I do know a few costume designers. I've never really used them just because I haven't had the opportunity to.
Yeah.
But like, shoot, I would love to at some point.
But I feel like you're, even short of using them, that you're, a stylist is like one step away.
It's pretty close.
It's kind of a
I think it's one of those transitional things where it's like the photographer is almost a creative director, and then the stylist kind of does some creative direction, and the hair comes in, and there's a little bit of overlapping, and you get the jack of all trades that try to fill all those things in. But I think that, I don't know, as I get older into my profession, I start to weed out the things that I used to do as a necessity, and I really try to find experts that will bring those things a little bit further and help propel me as well as them as a collaboration. So I think no one starts off doing everything. I mean, no one starts off doing everything, and then I feel like as they progress, they keep doing everything.
Yeah. No,
it's just not viable. You start to like respect other things that you like, and you start to fine tune it, and you become a craftsman.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. And I think, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I wouldn't have even like thought to even look into a stylist. I would have been like, okay, that's cool. All right. And then I would have been like, damn, I screwed that up.
I didn't even really know that was an option.
Yeah.
And then when I did know it was an option, it was like, oh, that'd be nice. And then, we're constantly asking people if they want stylists. And I think the clients of photographers are the ones that cut you guys short because they don't want to pay for it.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of times it comes down to.
So, if a photographer knows what he's doing, he'd want a stylist on every shoot.
You think they would just include it in their price?
Yeah, just
part of their service.
That would be best.
It does raise their price a little bit, but it also makes the product better.
But it makes the product better, and they think they're getting something with that product.
Yeah.
Now, if you're like, hey, I'm a photographer, I'll take your pictures for so-and-so amount of money, but I also have the stylist, and he charges this amount of money, they're automatically going to feel like, oh, that's more money.
I almost feel like I would almost prefer to give a discount. Like, I'll give you 10% off if you hire a stylist to come in here and do this.
Or if you say, like, you guys set your rate at a little bit, like, whatever your rate is, and then add whatever the stylist rate is as a one package, and be like, hey, this is the concept I have a stylist already set up to do it. This is the rate.
Yep.
It doesn't seem like an add-on, and they're like, okay, cool, let's do that.
Yeah.
They feel like it's already a part of it. So it's not that they can't say no. It's that why would you at that point? But then it's just a way that it's put out there. Like if you're like I said, if you're like, oh, I can do this, but I also have a stylist that can do this. You're putting that but there, and you give them the opportunity to be like, oh, well, I don't really need it. I can bring my own clothes.
So, not to cut you. I thought you were done. Sorry. I usually ask this question. What's your favorite part about being a creative?
Being creative.
Being creative?
Being able to be creative. Yeah. Hands down. It's the best part of it.
So what do you enjoy about that? Is it like I don't know. Like I don't want to put any words in your mouth. Like is it for me it's the excitement of creating something that no one's ever seen before. It's telling a story.
It's all of that.
Yeah.
So I can't really pinpoint it to that one particular thing. It's just being able to be creative. Being able to, all these millions of ideas that are going a million miles per hour in my head, being able to see them come to fruition.
That's cool,
That's the most beautiful thing I could do it at the end of the day, you know what I mean? Like, not to be like morbid, but it's my legacy. Like, when I'm dead and gone, like, there's something that, for instance, my daughter could look out on the, could actually be like, my dad did that. It's still there, even when I'm gone. A lot of people can't say that. Like most you guys, people. Most people can't say that. We are lucky to have that, to have all this stuff. Like you even did one with your kid with the Star Wars thing.
Yeah,
like that's something they're gonna have forever.
Yeah,
that's something they're gonna be able to show their kids when you're, God forbid, gone. That's the legacy that us as creatives are able to leave. Some people just go to work. What do they have to leave?
Most people.
Most people, yeah.
Not some
most,
people. Most people. It's important to say that. Yeah.
They go to work, they come home, they're just waiting to die. And I never. Not only did I never want to do that, but I knew I was never supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Like I knew there was always more than just, oh, time to go to work, time to come home.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I woke up this morning. Damn, when am I
gonna die? It hurts. It physically hurts. It's hard to explain. Like when I've been in that position where it's like, I am in pain, and it's a pain that you can't really describe, but it's when you have that taste of creativity, and then you do that other stuff. It's like I feel like I'm failing someone, but there's no one like I don't know.
Yeah, if it came to the point where they said somebody gave me the option of you could work this job, this desk job, and we'll pay you $1 million, but you can never be creative again. Never do anything creative again. You just wake up, you go to this job, you come home. That's it. I would turn it down.
Well, I mean, I would go even further.
I don't think you could do it. I don't think you could do it. I think you would start off. I think you'd start off with a lot of steam. But like I would be like, yeah, I got this. No, I'll never touch it again.
Click.
Yeah, no, it's like exactly. Really
and then I'd start like folding papers into little shapes and like, oh God, I'm being creative.
But see, I would go take it even further than that because I told my wife like a couple weeks ago, much to her dismay, I said, if somebody said, hey, we'll pay you, $300,000, $400,000 a year to do this job, which is not what I'm making personally now.
Just for reference.
Yeah. You can do this job, but you have to do like spectacle on your own time or whatever. But this is going to this job will be your life now. And I'm not the boss. I'm not in charge of anything. I'm like a peon.
Mm-hmm. Even if you were the boss.
Which is all jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like outside of me being like the owner, because then I would just make it what I want it to be, and then But like just going out and getting a job that paid me $300,000, $400,000 a year, I wouldn't do it. I know I wouldn't do it. I could get jobs now that pay over $150,000 a year, and I don't do it.
Yeah.
It's like nope. I'd rather be poor than have to deal with a boss. And I know people know the pain of that. I know that sounds like, oh, well, Mr. High and Mighty, rather be poor. It's like, yeah, but I can say that because I was poor for a decade. Because I'd rather do that.
But at the same time, some people that with that state of mind don't get it. Some people don't, and I don't mean to be rude or be a dick, but some people do not have a creative bone in their body, and they don't understand what it's like. It is physically like you're sitting over describing like a crackhead. It is physically like that.
Yeah.
When I cannot create, if like
it hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get depressed.
Yeah.
I get depressed. I get down. I'm not myself unless I'm creating.
I've made jokes about it in the past, and it's only half joking. That I'd rather be addicted to drugs than creativity because at least drugs are obtainable. The high lasts and then you move on, right? With creativity, I can spend hours creating something, building it, putting it together, and then not being happy. That can happen. It happens a lot. And there's a lot of self-doubt. There's a lot of self-comparison. There's a lot of these things. There's jealousy. There's a lot of things that creativity and creatives deal with that it sounds like I'm like, oh, poor us. But it's not this. It's not. And I've joked about this too where I'm like, I don't even let my kids touch crayons because I don't want them to even get the bug
To get that
of
bug,
knowing what it is to be a creative. And I joke about that. They color all the time. But like
They don't.
I've went to my kids' school and I've said, as a photographer, they're like, how do we be photographers? It's like, don't be photographers, be doctors. Do that. Don't even think
Biochemical
about
engineering,
it.
kids.
Biochemical engineer. Yeah, and that's the thing is like, so it's.
I mean, and so I knew this guy who built playgrounds. He was told where to build a playground, and he was sent all the pieces, and he'd build playgrounds for kids. And this is when I was in high school. I had, like an after school job helping build these playgrounds. And this dude was like the happiest guy. I worked with him for, I don't know, like 3 years. He wasn't like you don't know what's going on when he gets home. It's like, no, that guy's happy. Perfect. I mean, he'd be there 5 a.m. Gonna put together my 10,000th playground. It's gonna be great. And I remember he was talking. He's like, oh man, he was talking about these poles that we got. These poles, man, I love these poles. I could do this all day. I could do this all day, every day. They just screw right in. Man, this really is a great job. And I remember thinking, I wish I could like this job. I wish. And, and it's, my dad used to say, I wish that I could just dig ditches. That I would be happy just digging a ditch for $14 an hour, because there are those people, and that's fine. It's like
those people are needed.
It's almost like a blessing. Like
That's
sometimes when I think
yeah.
about it, it's like they go. There's a lot of people who they go to a job. My first thing when I have a regular job is like, okay, like I wonder who the idiots are, and then I start paying attention. Like. I'm the worst employee. I really am. It's like, then I start, okay, so this guy's in charge of me. Okay, well, let's see why that is. No, there really isn't a reason. Why is this guy telling me what to do? And then I start trying to like get my own promotion, starting my own department. I'm a total like pain in the neck. So, I mean, and then I have people like standing in my way of getting things done, even though, and I'm not even saying they should be done, because I make like a lot of mistakes. Half the ideas I have are probably stupid, and there's a reason for that. But in a company, I don't like not being allowed to fail because of somebody else. I don't like people telling me what to do. And so I'm a terrible employee. And so when somebody says, hey, you'll make $300,000 a year, and it's like, yeah, that would be awesome for like a year. And then I wouldn't even care. I'd be like, it's not worth the money. Half the people who have a job now say it's not worth the money, and they're not making anything. Like, and just having money, this sounds so stupid. I love money, but making money doesn't mean anything. I know a ton of people who make a ton of money and they just buy a bunch of Urban Outfitter art with it.
Oh my God.
And it's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do with money if you don't do anything?
Yeah.
No.
It's all just about security to me, and I don't really care about security. I'll just be somebody like, I remember a long time ago, somebody was like, well, what if you do this and fail and you have no money? And I was like, well, I'd just be a thief until I got money. If they were like, in that scenario, like, well, what if, you're just dead broke and there's not enough time to get a job before that next rent's due, and like basically making like this nightmare scenario. It's like, okay, if the planets aligned and I was in the worst case scenario possible, I just steal food.
Yeah. I'm a survivor, baby.
Yeah, like
I'm a survivor.
Yeah, that doesn't mean just because of some dark future that you paint for me or yourself, that doesn't mean you shouldn't do things on your own.
I agree.
Yeah.
But some people don't have that drive either, and that's fine.
I was talking to a friend the other day, and I mentioned to him he's dealing with a lot of challenges, and I said to him, I was like, if you were to stop doing this right now, you've already done more than 90% of what people have done on this earth ever.
Yeah.
Ever. Like, honestly, think about what we've done. If I were to never take another photo again and never tell someone else's story ever again, I've still done more for people than 90% of the people that have ever walked on this earth.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
And that's pretty wild. So I think as creatives, I mean, you don't want to get this ego. You don't want to be like the rock star photographer or the rock star stylist. And ultimately, when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, people want to work with you.
Yeah.
Not so much. It's your work does matter, but it's also like, don't be an asshole. They want to work with nice people. They want to work with cool people. And you're not even at the level. No one's at the level where it's like, I can be this pretentious and people are forced to work with me.
I
And
don't
even
think I
those
ever
people.
would be. Even though I was at that level, I don't think
Yeah.
I could ever.
Well,
be
those
like
people
I
will
can't
eventually
be.
fall.
I mean, really, because I think it's also stupid.
Yeah,
That's.
I agree.
I mean, my default is that I think that, including myself, everyone's an idiot, and we just do the best that we can. And for me to, I think that it's like, for people with huge egos that are with egos that are affecting other people's lives, it's like, do you not think you're just as stupid as the rest of us? like, let's knock it down a peg here,
Yeah, for
especially
real.
like in the entertainment world.
Yeah.
Like, wait a second, like, like you are just as dumb as everyone else. I mean, come on. But I don't know.
And then I'm trying to find it real fast, but like, I was listening to a report about Tom Hanks, and he mentioned that. They were like, "What's your biggest fear?" And he's like, "My biggest fear is that someone's eventually going to realize that I don't know what I'm doing."
Oh yeah, that
And
they're
this-
gonna come in.
They're
the
going to
door
come
one
in,
day.
and they're going to just be like, it's just going to dawn on them that they don't know what they're doing. Like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, that's
I'm horrible at this. Same thing with that John Malkovich.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a video online with Matt Damon, and he's like, you know, I'm you know,
best
John
story.
Malkovich walks in,
Hang on.
and
There's this thing online where Matt Damon, I think he was talking on, I don't know, Kimmel or something, and he said the best moment that he's ever had in his career, the most real moment, is when he was making Rounders with John Malkovich.
Yeah.
And
that was a great movie.
and he goes, so, you know, everyone's like, oh man, John Malkovich. And so the first scene that he did was one of the scene he was talking about was the one where he says, where he's talking about where Matt Damon beats him.
Mhm.
And he goes, and Matt Damon said, I'm sitting there at the table, across from the table with this guy, and everybody's like quiet, and there's tons of people on the set because John Malkovich is there. And, you know, John Malkovich is there. Give that man his money. And he's like, and I'm just thinking in my head, what? I mean, I'm just not really getting what he's doing. And he's like, and then the director said, cut. And everyone, the whole set goes into applause. And he's like, and I'm looking at people like, and he's like looking around and they're like, can you believe it? Oh, the performance, the this, the that. And he's like, and I look forward and John Malkovich is just staring at me. Like he saw
knows that I saw
in
it.
my eyes that I was questioning his performance. And he like leaned forward and he goes, I'm a terrible actor. And just like leaned back. And he was like, it was the best. It was like a turning point in my career when I realized that we were all just making it up. Just a bunch of frauds.
We really are.
Like,
Like even with the styling, like sometimes, like there'll be times when I'll be at the end of a shoot and I'll be like, how the fuck did I
how
make
did I
that
do
happen?
that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like how the fuck did that even happen?
yeah.
You know, I think I had a shoot recently. Who was it? Yes, I actually got a call to do a shoot last minute, like the night before.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, yeah, I'll do it. Did the shoot, or went, met with the model, got the clothes, did the shoot. Afterwards, I was like, how the fuck did I make that happen in less than 12
Yeah.
hours?
Yeah.
Like 4 fucking outfits in less than 12 hours.
Yeah.
Well, that's the most important part of what we do as creatives is problem solving.
Yeah.
Like I know a lot of creatives that they think it's a bad thing to show the mess ups and the mistakes, when really it's like clients know that something's going to go wrong on set. What they want is problem solvers to come in and then fix those problems
Exactly.
when they arise.
Exactly.
So, I mean, that's a majority of what we do is we're problem solvers in creative ways.
Yep.
And that's part of like people buying you as an individual.
Mm.
They want people that aren't just going to throw their hands up because something will go wrong.
Oh yeah.
And they just need that security when they have the money on the line. But so anyway, how can people find your work? How can they,
Right now,
what do you
it's-
want them to follow?
Follow Instagram.
The chap snap,
the snap,
the chap snap.
the snap,
The book snap.
the book.
Yeah.
the MySpace.
The my book or whatever.
My book.
Yeah.
For right now, just go to Victor and Ash on Instagram. So it's VictorAndAsh. Yeah, Victor and Ash on Instagram, and that's it right now. Working on the website, so it's not ready yet.
Cool. What can we expect to see from you in 2020?
I have no fucking clue.
No idea.
No goddamn clue, man.
One day at a time,
One
Rich.
day at a time, man.
Stop trying to get deep.
Did you not just hear what we were talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah,
I don't know what
yeah.
the fuck we're doing.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's funny. Cool, man.
Thank you guys. I
It was
appreciate
awesome having you here.
it. Awesome being here.